that we're ready to go. We're in great shape.
Why is it important to you to beat Bernard Hopkins?
Because not only beat him, but convincingly. Because nobody's done it, and there's always been controversy with the decisions. After this fight, I don't want there to be no controversy. I want everybody to know that I beat him, and I want him to know that I beat him.
Thanks.
Round 8 of Schedule 12 between Stephen Luevano in the gray trunks and Billy Dibb of Australia in the red trunks. Quick little right hand inside by Luevano was the most meaningful punch of that, quote, exchange, unquote. Dibb doesn't have much power, but then he doesn't land much either.
You see the physical strength of Luevano here now, in addition to the skill.
Luevano just flinging Dibb into the ropes to get him off of him so that he can punch him. Luevano seems a little bit frustrated and ready to roughhouse now as he begins to get more aggressive in going after Billy Dibb. I think Stephen Luevano has determined that there's really not much downside in chasing Dibb, because the worst that can happen is that Dibb lands a punch.
But he's not going to get knocked out by the punch.
Exactly.
It mostly going to be his off-balance knockdown. But I think he's got the right idea. If he maintains this consistent pressure, even at the cost of possibly being hit a little bit, I think he will win the fight much more convincingly, and possibly he can stop it. Because Dibb does not have the physical strength to hold him off.
If he can take the kind of punches with which he was ripped by Mario Santiago in his last fight, then walking through Billy Dibb's net-like exchanges isn't going to hurt much. So why not go forward and make it a fight?
Pull your arm out, Stevie. Pull your arm out.
Dibb wears a constant grin on his face, as if he's totally in charge. Or maybe he just is having a blast. Partially blocked by Luevano on the right hand by Dibb. Luevano is beginning to get a little sarcastic grin on his features.
That told the story of these two fighters. Right there, that exchange on the ropes. Dibb's peppered with a meek little sally of shoe shining, and two punches came back from Luevano, and he retreated.
Solid right hands attempted by Billy Dibb as that round comes to a close. Well, part of the question about Bernard Hopkins at age 43, can he mount enough of an offensive output to legitimately give himself a chance to win against Kelly Pavlik? There was a moment in Bernard's career when he was an effective offensive fighter during his long reign in the middleweight division, and certainly he looked the part in dominating Felix Trinidad in the year 2001. But as his career has progressed, the punch output has slipped, and Bernard has gone into a defensive shell, playing almost exclusively off of his opponent's offense. Here's how CompuBox numbers show that. Hopkins' averages per round during the first 10 years of his career, in effect, as a star between 1993 and 2002, 22 out of 53. It may not seem like much for the punch output to go down 11 punches per round, but when you're only landing 15 punches per round, as Hopkins has over the course of the past several years, and in many rounds against fighters like Jermaine Taylor or Joe Calzaghe, he's actually landing 6 or 7 or 8 punches out of 20 or 25 thrown. That's not enough offense to win close fights, and that's what Hopkins has discovered recently. Of course, as Larry Merchant touched on in his interview with Hopkins, to throw more punches against Kelly Pavlik implies taking the risk that you get hit back by a guy who's probably a bigger puncher than most of the people Hopkins has recently fought.
Much bigger puncher than most of the guys that he's fought. In fact, Winky I wouldn't consider a puncher. I never considered Tarver that much of a puncher.
Calzaghe clearly shortened up his punches to land.
But Calzaghe was basically, would say, we're just winning points, what we call slapping. He was not punching with that much power. But Kelly Pavlik here is someone that can punch and can hurt him.
With left hand by Luevano.
Well, it looks like Dib decided that he might want to fight the rest of this fight.
Closed out the last round with a legitimate offensive thrust and tries to throw a good right hand there. It's hard to do it when you're backing up or bouncing on your feet. Luevano hits him with a solid right hook as Dib was leaning forward.
And Dib keeps his head straight up in there, so anything that he gets hit with, it looks, well, I wouldn't say it looks, it really is more effective. The damage it does because his head is up most of the time.
Luevano popping Dib with a jab as he comes in. Now Dib tries to do some body work as he leans Luevano against the ropes.
Don't punch, step, step, step. Stay up, Billy, stay up. It's all right.
Best exchange of the fight as Stephen Luevano tries to protect his position near the top of the featherweight division against Australia's Billy Dib. And let's take a look at the two trainers for the main event. The main man in Bernard Hopkins' corner is Naseem Richardson. He's been with Bernard for a long time, originally as the aide-de-camp to Bernard's longtime trainer, Bowie Fischer. And then he has come back to the top of the heap as Hopkins' lead trainer, replacing Freddie Roach, who trained Hopkins for his last two fights, as Richardson has somewhat miraculously recovered from a serious stroke over the course of the past year and a half. And meanwhile, Kelly Pavlik has always had the same trainer since the moment when he, as an adolescent boy, walked into the gym of Jack Lowe in Youngstown, Ohio. Lowe has always been his guy. Jack Lowe has never trained any prominent fighter outside of Kelly Pavlik, but they have a magical chemistry together. And you can see that Jack Lowe became the Boxing Writers Association Trainer of the Year in 2007, solely and simply for the work that he's done with Pavlik, all the while still keeping his driveway paving business, which was his primary income earner up until the last couple of years. Through 9 CompuBox averages per round, Luevano 9 out of 29, Dib 7 out of 30. Luevano by far the more authoritative puncher. Featherweight average is 57 punches thrown per round. They don't get anywhere close to that. Harold, how do you have it coming to the 10th?
Look at Jim, 88, 83, 7 rounds to 2, Stephen Luevano. Jim, I tell you, I can't get myself to score these rounds for Billy Dib. He's bouncing up and down, not landing the harder shots.
He's getting hit pretty hard right there.
Right. That's the way I see it. Luevano just letting the clean, effective punches. And that's what's winning in the rounds. I have it 7-2 Luevano, but he's strictly on clean punching. Dib just bounces up and down too much and doesn't get anything solid. But Luevano should stop playing with them trunks. He pulls them up about every 10 seconds.
Do you think that Luevano is beginning to think that he might be able to soften Dib up and kill down the stretch?
It's what we were saying earlier. I think he's beginning to get the message that he's physically stronger. He's just a better all-the-way around fighter. Which is rare, as Larry said, one of the few times where he's fighting somebody that he's physically stronger than. But in addition to having better competition, having more fights, he also had a solid amateur background. He was one of America's top boxers as amateur from a little 10, 11, and 12-year-old all the way up to before he turned professional.
The timing of Stephen Luevano's counterpunches, particularly his excellent counter right hook, is touching up Billy Dib's face, or Billy Dib's face, I should say now. It's Dib, no S at the end. And Dib's features are beginning to show the damage that Luevano is able to do. Again, particularly with their right hand.
The right hand, whether it's a right jab or the right hook.
Picking up on what you were saying a moment ago, Emmanuel, the top 2 featherweight amateurs in the country in 2000 were Luevano and Rocky Juarez. And I believe Juarez beat him in a close fight to get on the Olympic team. And now there's talk that Luevano's next fight could be against Juarez.
Especially in Juarez just had some great victories last fight.
Well, overall, Juarez has had a more prominent professional career than Stephen Luevano, but not as successful a professional career as Luevano. Juarez, you'll remember, with the 2 losses to Marco Antonio Barrera. And he has stumbled here in